Sarah and David had always been the picture of a happy couple. They met in college, both passionate about their careers and their shared love for adventure. They spent weekends exploring new cities, cooking together, and discussing their dreams late into the night. Their relationship thrived on open, honest communication. But as time passed, things started to change. A few years into their marriage, life began to get busier. Both Sarah and David climbed the professional ladder, and their schedules became packed with deadlines, meetings, and obligations. They bought a house and, with the responsibility of homeownership, their once spontaneous weekends became filled with tasks. They had a child, and suddenly, their moments together were more limited than ever before. At first, the couple tried to keep the spark alive. But slowly, they noticed that their communication, once effortless and natural, began to slip. Their conversations became shorter, often about logistics, who would pick up the groceries or take care of the bills, rather than the meaningful exchanges that once defined their bond. In the evenings, they would sit next to each other, both glued to their phones or tired from their respective days, with little energy left for meaningful conversation. They still loved each other, but there was a distance growing between them that neither knew how to bridge. It wasn't until one particularly quiet evening when Sarah sat down on the couch, looking at David, that she realized something important. Their relationship had drifted because they had stopped communicating in the way they once did. She felt a growing sense of dissatisfaction, not because of any major issue, but because their emotional connection was fading. This was not the kind of relationship they had envisioned. The solution, Sarah realized, was to bring communication back into the center of their lives. One night, over a cup of tea, Sarah brought up the topic with David. She told him, "I think we've lost something. We used to talk all the time, about everything. Now, we're just going through the motions. I miss us." David, initially defensive, reflected on her words. He too felt the distance and acknowledged that their busy schedules had pushed them apart in ways neither had fully realized. They agreed that they needed to change. But where to start? Sarah suggested something simple yet powerful. They needed to become better listeners. Active listening, the art of being present. The next day, they set a plan in motion. They agreed that every day, they would carve out at least 10 minutes to talk, without distractions. No phones, no television, just the two of them, face to face. They decided to practice active listening during those moments. Active listening is more than just hearing words. It's being fully present in the conversation, making an effort to understand the other person's feelings and perspective. Sarah explained to David that it meant looking into each other's eyes, nodding when necessary, and repeating what they heard to ensure understanding. Instead of interrupting each other to share their own stories, they would pause and reflect on what the other person was saying. The first few attempts were awkward. Both Sarah and David had to resist the urge to check their phones or multitask. But slowly, they began to feel the benefits. They were truly hearing each other again, not just listening to respond but listening to understand. David, who was usually quick to offer solutions when Sarah expressed frustrations, learned the power of simply validating her feelings. "I understand why you are upset," he would say, "and I'm sorry you feel that way. I'm here for you." This approach made Sarah feel heard and cared for, without the pressure of finding an immediate fix. In turn, Sarah made an effort to express her feelings more openly, sharing how her busy work schedule was affecting her mental health and leaving her feeling disconnected from David. They both made an effort to understand the small nuances in each other's emotions. Expressing yourself clearly and respectfully. The next challenge for Sarah and David was how they communicated their needs. Over time, both of them had begun to assume they knew what the other person wanted or needed. But without clear communication, small misunderstandings started to build up. Sarah realized that in her desire to avoid confrontation, she often assumed David could read her mind. She would feel overwhelmed by household chores, but instead of asking for help, she would silently hope David would notice. David, on the other hand, wanted to help, but he didn't always recognize when Sarah needed it. To solve this, they introduced the concept of I statements. Instead of saying, "You never help me around the house," Sarah learned to say, "I feel overwhelmed when the chores pile up, and I need your help." This change in language made all the difference. It removed blame and focused on expressing feelings in a way that didn't attack the other person. Similarly, David would share his concerns openly, using statements like, "I feel disconnected when we don't spend time together outside of routine tasks," instead of criticizing their lack of quality time. Navigating conflict with grace. Of course, no relationship is without conflict, and Sarah and David were no exception. There were moments when they disagreed on parenting decisions or felt frustrated by the other's actions. However, both of them had learned that the key to resolving conflict wasn't about winning the argument. It was about finding solutions together. They agreed to approach conflicts calmly and respectfully, always choosing the right time and place for serious discussions. Rather than engaging in arguments late at night when they were both tired, they chose to wait for a time when they could both be more level-headed. They also made it a rule to never blame each other, but instead focus on finding common ground. This made their disagreements less about being right and more about growing together. Maintaining open communication. Finally, Sarah and David realized that effective communication wasn't just about fixing problems. It was about nurturing their relationship every day. They introduced weekly check-ins, where they would sit down and talk about anything on their minds. This gave them an opportunity to express gratitude for each other, to share successes, and to discuss any lingering issues before they turned into bigger problems. They also made sure to celebrate the small wins. Whether it was finishing a difficult project at work or simply enjoying a peaceful evening at home, they acknowledged each other's contributions and expressed appreciation. Conclusion. Through their efforts to improve communication, Sarah and David learned that a relationship is built on trust, understanding, and the willingness to listen and speak openly. By being present, expressing themselves clearly, and navigating challenges together, they rediscovered the strength of their bond. Their relationship became richer and deeper as they realized that it wasn't just about talking. It was about listening, understanding, and growing together. In the end, Sarah and David's story is a reminder that the foundation of any strong relationship lies in effective communication. It's about being there for each other, understanding each other's needs, and working together to build something that lasts.